Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today on our webinar in regards to the SOFA deep dive. If you experience any audio issues today, we just put instructions in the chat, but you can click on the Get Audio Video Help button beneath or at the bottom left corner of the screen. And from there, you can switch to compatibility mode. If you're still experiencing any issues, we always save recordings of these webinars. So as soon as it's done, you can get online and view it, and that audio always works perfectly. So to get started today, we'll share our screen with you and just kind of walk through the SOFA. So we have a SOFA review section, and we can go over that. That kind of shows you all of the questions on the SOFA, exactly how to answer them. But we get asked pretty regularly. Our support team gets asked a lot of common questions on the SOFA on how to actually put that information into the case. So we'll show you how to do some of those frequently asked questions as well as the SOFA review section. But to get started, in all of your cases, near the bottom, there is a tab labeled SOFA review. So the point of everything you've entered into your case, it's really most beneficial to you if you work in a linear fashion. So work from start to bottom down the tabs on the left, and we're collecting a lot of the SOFA information in there. So that's the best way to eliminate any unnecessary double and triple data entry. Like if you have payments in the last 90 days or any claims or payments in the last year and bank accounts, all of that stuff. So we're asking that in all of these. So make sure you answer all of these tabs before you just go straight to the SOFA review. You can review in the SOFA. So we'll show you all of the questions from that line item of the SOFA. Also, at any time when you're in your case, you can click on this orange preview at the top right. And that'll take you directly to the SOFA if that's the section you're working on. So you can review the SOFA throughout your case too, just to make sure all the information's generating in here. But we have this nice SOFA review section. So in here, we show you the question from the SOFA and what your answer is. So let's say this one during the last 3 years, for our example, there's no answer in here. It says none. Well, the debtor did live somewhere different in the last 3 years, so we want to revisit that section to answer that question. Sometimes it's not that obvious. So clicking on this section, this is where the answer needs to go, but maybe it's not obvious how to add that. So also in our SOFA review, there's this orange question mark next to each question, and that will link you to our help center. So whether you're working on an individual or a non-individual case, we have a help center article for every single line of the SOFA. In here, it'll show you where to enter this information, and then it actually walks you through specific directions on answering that. So in this case, we needed to add a prior address, put the dates in, and then make sure the date is within the last 3 years. So that's on every line item in here, and that's beneficial to click. And then as you revisit the section, that can walk you through. And then up here at the tabs, that's how you can get to the other questions. So we go through the whole SOFA and all of your answers. Some of the common added SOFA items, one that we get asked often is attorney fees. So that would be line 16, and it's asking within 1 year before you filed bankruptcy, did you pay any fees? This question gets confused a lot because in miscellaneous attorney credit counseling fees, a lot of people just assume that this section at the bottom is going to answer the SOFA, and it doesn't. This at the bottom is specifically for your attorney fee disclosure. So if you're entering any fees in here, choosing your disclosure, that goes strictly on your attorney fee disclosure and not the SOFA. That said, right here at the top, there's even a little info bubble just letting you know that if you have any fees for seeking or filing a bankruptcy petition within 1 year, this is how you can add those. So if you click on new fee, then you can add that fee that's going into line 16 of the SOFA. We have added in the ability to save that credit counselor or the attorney as a common creditor so that you can reduce a lot of that data entry. So for this case, we have our attorney is Atticus Finch, as we start to type that in and click that, all of that information pulls over. So definitely add the attorneys from your firm as a common creditor. If you're using the same credit counselors, add them so you don't have to type this in all the time and avoid any data entry errors. Here, once you add in a recent payment date, I'll just do March 500. Once you click save and close, this or any of the information you need to put down here. Now, when we go to the SOFA review, look at section or question 16, there's our $500 fee we just put in. So it'll update automatically in the SOFA review, so you can make sure that that's in there. But that is how you add that in miscellaneous attorney fees at the top. Another question we get asked almost daily is payments in the last 90 days. So the SOFA question 6, any payment in the last 90 days, as always, click on the article and that will show you how to do that. But these are pretty simple once you locate how to do that and get the hang of it. So all of the claim sections, whether it's secured or unsecured, have the option in here, and they're going to ask you for a last payment date. So when you enter the claim first, you'll see that those fields aren't in there because a lot of NextChapter isn't going to crowd your screen and show you a bunch of fields and checkboxes if they're not applicable to your case. So until you've actually said, okay, we made a payment in the last 90 days, I'll put in April 1st. Since that's in the last 90 days, all of those additional fields populate. So now you can add the other payment dates as well as the total amount paid. This specific example that I clicked on is a utility bill. So we still want to mark that utility received payments in the last 90 days, but we don't want to report this on EF. There is a button down here to omit claim from Schedule EF. So in clicking that, all of this information is basically just used for the SOFA and it won't go on Schedule EF. But like I said, these are all the same. So even in secured claims, you have that same last payment date. And then unsecured claims too. One more thing to know is this last payment date in the last 90 days will backtrack from today's date. So if you put in something that wasn't in the last 90 days, what was in the last 90 days? They're not going to generate, so you won't see them. So just make sure you're mindful of that date. And I'm joined today by Mandy, our COO, and she's going to go over a few of these other common added SOFA items too. So I'm going to pass it along to her.
Okay, so first I just wanted to go over, Katie's showing some commonly added sections of the SOFA. You almost always are adding that line 16 and the payments within 90 days. Pretty common things that get added in. But I did want to point out two main sections of NextChapter where we ask a lot of the SOFA questions. So the first is under personal property. The very last section here is miscellaneous property. And if you take a look at these categories, you can tell that these are questions that are specifically for the SOFA. So property assigned to for a creditor within 1 year, we ask that in here. And all of these questions are directly from the SOFA. So generally speaking, if you're looking for something to list into the SOFA that has to do with property, I would recommend checking out this section if you haven't already made it down to the SOFA review to find the exact section, and making sure you're adding these in here. Take care of that. Another spot is the miscellaneous. So Katie already showed you the attorney and credit counseling fees, but these other four categories here, again, are specifically related to the SOFA. So if they have any gifts that need to be reported, any losses, those could be listed here. Environmental hazards. So if I say yes, like Katie said, that's going to pull up a whole bunch of questions so that you can indicate everything that needs to be listed on the SOFA in that rare event that they need to report this. And then lastly, business related. So we have a business in here. This has a lot of information that's going into the SOFA. If you need to list any accountants or bookkeepers that had access to the records for the business, a lot of that is pulling from this section here. Okay, so I'm going to hand it back over. Actually, I'm going to go over a couple more sections first. Another common section is for the line 5 for the gross yearly income. So if you go into the income section, the third spot is specifically for the gross yearly income. So we show you the current year to date and then the previous 2 years. So this is going to be for the regular income on line 5. Then if there's any non-regular income, employment income that you need to specify where that source is coming from, you can add those in the column over on the right-hand side. We start off by showing you one, but you can actually click to add additional sources if needed. And then you can type directly in here what the source of the income is. And then what's nice is when you go into the SOFA review, line 5 is going to give you 4 and 5 will show you a nice table. So you can see like really quickly a nice double check to make sure you have all the income that you need to be adding and then all of the sources indicated as well for each of the debtors too. The next one is we wanted to cover is for lawsuits. So as you go through and add claims, if you have a lawsuit that was actually that the plaintiff or the defendant is the creditor in the suit, you can add the lawsuit directly in the claim. So for example, I'm going to go to secured claims, and here is our mortgage on the house. If Applecore Mortgages had also filed a foreclosure and it's a pending foreclosure that I want to be showing in lines 9 and 10, I can click to add an action. And I'm going to uncheck this box because when you first come in here, basically it's just going to ask what type of action's been filed. So you can do the drop, what type it is. And so I'm going to click foreclosure and add in the foreclosure information. And then this is only going to put it on line 10. So if I want to indicate that it's also a lawsuit, I can check this box. And now it's going to ask me for all the corresponding court information as well. And what's nice about is I'm not having to retype all of the asset information or the creditor information. So really all I'm adding is the action information itself, that additional information that we don't already have so that we can add that onto the SOFA. So after you've added in an action from a claim, when you go down to the next section past the claims, which is lawsuits, you'll see that listed here in a table. So I can see that I've got the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas filed foreclosure by Applecore Mortgage filed foreclosure, and we can see the creditors here too. So this is a nice double check to make sure you've got all your lawsuits listed. And then if there is a lawsuit that you need to list that's not involving any of the creditors, you can add that directly in here. So that's the example I have right here. This one here is a pending divorce. So we have that added in here. Over on the side, it's important to note that you only want to choose the type of suit if you want it to go on line 10. So line 9 is asking, all of the actions, if it's a garnishment, foreclosure, seized property. If it is one of those items and a lawsuit, then you can select this and it'll go on both lines. But if you only want it to be on there, you just want to fill out the court information, and that's the only spot that it'll go. So after I have these two added in, so right now this one will be on line 9 and 10. This one should only be, I believe, on 10. And you can again come back in here when you're ready to and double check that information. So I can see that both were on 9 and this one's only on 10. That's kind of, again, a quick double check for you.
Okay, so the last common question we're going to go over today are any closed accounts. This would be line 20 of the SOFA, and it's asking if any financial accounts were closed, sold, moved, or transferred. So we get asked a lot because we need to add in the account in a personal items section, but it doesn't need to go on Schedule AB since it's closed. So what you would do for that is add it the same way as you would add an. So in personal property, money and accounts, I'm just going to pick the savings account. So we have our savings account, but the account was closed. So once you indicate that that account has been closed, additional information is now being requested and to omit from Schedule AB. So if you only want to report this account on the SOFA, you don't want it on AB, you can select that box, save and close, and now it's only going to be on the SOFA, and if we review, you can always click on the preview button to review your Schedule AB. It won't be listed on there. Those are the common questions that we have picked out to go over today, and we hope that this SOFA review section has been super helpful and for all of you preparing your cases. I'm going to hold off for a couple seconds just to see if anybody has any questions. You can send those through our chat feature on the webinar page at the bottom right corner. But if we don't have any questions, I think that's it for today. Thank you all so much for joining. If anyone in your firm you think they could benefit from these, we do have more coming up that you can sign up for. You can access that in our help center. We have a webinar section. So if you come in here and you want to sign up for any of our upcoming webinars, you can. And then also on these pages, we save copies of old webinars. So if you have new team members, if you just want a refresher, maybe you haven't been in a while, we definitely recommend signing up for more and watching old videos. And we're always here to help. So if anyone has any questions, let us know and enjoy the rest of your day.